Welcome to the podcast where three longtime friends talk about video games from the average gamer's perspective. My name is Andrew Kimball.
I'm Dylan Wren.
And I'm Aubrey Summer.
And
we are your friendly neighborhood gamers.
Welcome back to the neighborhood. In this episode, we have the pleasure of talking to Jordan Rae. Jordan is a cosplayer, streamer, member of the slowly dying Marvel Rivals squad, and has recently started a podcast. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. You do a lot, so I think we will just dive right in. The first question that I have for you is, what's Eric's problem? Why does that guy suck? No.
Like, what's his issue? You know, like I've been trying to do my science on that, and we're just not there yet. We're getting close, right?
Still trying to figure out the mystery of the universe.
Oh, I know. It's still a puzzle on our side.
Mm-hmm.
No, the real first question is, in your own words, like, what is it that you do? You're a creator. It sounds like you do quite a lot. You do some, cosplaying. You just started podcasting. You stream. So if you were to sum it up, if you were to kind of explain your creative endeavors to somebody, what would you say?
Yeah, I guess I'm just overall a nerdy creative content creator. I started off with art and design, and I don't know if you guys knew, but I designed the logo for Phil's podcast. I've done ours for our newest podcast that we just launched, the Read It and Reap podcast. And then I've also just done a lot of logo designs just all over the country. So people found me through that, which is really exciting. And I was let me talk about things I like to do, because I post my art on social media, might as well. And it kind of just expanded into me being a cosplayer, wanting to talk about my cosplaying on Twitch streams, and then wanting to talk about more things I like on the podcast. So I guess it's a selfish thing to say, I just like being me and showing people who I am.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you got your start, it sounds like, kind of designing logos for the most part. What are some of your favorite ones that you've designed? You've given the shout out to Phil and Eric. You've given what would you say is your favorite, though? It doesn't have to be theirs.
I was about to say, so I've done more outside of a podcast logo.
Right.
My personal favorite is ours, our new one for Read It and Reap. But if I want to go back to the entirety of my whole career, back in college, I had created a rebrand logo for a production company. I will say they don't use it anymore, so I don't know if I want to say it's the proudest thing, but it was a really exciting moment for me. And it was a big proposal, had to do a presentation for it. And then when you get to see people wear your logo and you get to see it on stage, all of the things that they do, it just becomes your favorite thing in the world, because you get to make it come to life. So I guess that was definitely my main favorite, and I guess first really big logo design project. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so you said you got into cosplaying around that time after that. So what got you into that side of things in cosplaying?
Yeah, so first off, obviously I met Phil and Eric through the podcast. We actually met at a game night. So we had not known each other. I met them over a 5-foot long pizza when we were playing board games. And I kind of learned about the things that they did. They were into a lot of the games I played. They had a pretty cool podcast of the nerdy content that I was into. And I think Phil had made this post about how he was going to this convention, and it was like the first of like Bold Mitsuris in Jacksonville, Florida. And I've never been to a convention in my entire life, but it was always something I've wanted to go to and attend. The only ones I was ever aware of though were like LA Comic Con or those big ones that I'm never gonna really like fly out to, or well, I never thought I would fly out to them. And back in like the YouTube days when people would do like YouTube vlogs and like go to these Comic Con conventions, they would show off these like crazy cosplayers.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like I remember that was something I was so into. And like I was a kid at the time, like I was not comfortable being a cosplayer at all. So props to the people who have like kids now that dress up for these things. But that was like my debut, was that first convention in Jacksonville. Like it just felt really fun. People telling you like, hey, I like your costume, people really recognizing what your character is, and just like realizing you like fit in a community, because that was that community I saw on YouTube like 10, 12 years ago, however long ago.
Awesome. So who was your first costume that you went to that con in?
Oh, so my first costume was Go-Go. I think that was her name, and I can't remember, but it was from Kill Bill. It was Go-Go, and it was because it was just like very accessible for me to pull out of my closet. It was like a blazer, a tie, button down, like a school skirt, and then I made the weapon, which was the like ball and chain with the spikes on it. And I think that's like one of the coolest things. Is my favorite thing of all when it comes to cosplays is like making the weapons. Because like you can make it as big and like extravagant as you want. And when I went to the convention, like it was just like cool having this like weapon with me, and like people weren't concerned you have like a weapon in your hand. Like no one's calling security on you. Everyone's like, that's normal. She can have that in the open building right now. So that like started my love for like even just creating weapons for cosplays. So I've just been picking cosplays that have like swords or like knives so I can like carve them out.
It's a Pyramid Head win.
I know. I do want to do Pyramid Head, actually. That's like one of my next cosplays I really want to like put some thought in. It's the head that's gonna like really get me, because it's like that big head, and I'm like, how do people make these heads where it doesn't look like I have eyes, but I can at least see through them? So that'll be fun. The sword is gonna be really exciting too, or the cleaver knife thing he has that he drags on the ground. That's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. And what's your favorite weapon you've made so far?
My favorite one was Katana from Mortal Kombat, the like fans with the knives. That one was like the coolest one, because like just putting it together was like the tricky part, because you don't know how to put a fan together while having like weapons come out of it and not make it like this clunky item. And I like creatively found a way to like put it together and make it look like knives. It was literally just cardboard though. And it was like people were touching it like they thought it was like real blades, because like I had painted it so it looks like shiny enough to look like a blade. And people were like, oh, it's just cardboard. I'm like, yeah, it's just cardboard, but it was like still really cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome. And so you kind of transitioned from cosplaying into streaming as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, I created my content creator account, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, with the purpose of like kind of sharing my adventure, going to these conventions, like going to do cosplaying. And because we started streaming with Phil on the Wait for It channel, I was like pretty inspired to also start not cosplaying, also start streaming with my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure name. Because a lot of the conventions I go to are like gaming related, and then I do a lot of video game related cosplays. So it just kind of meshes together, because then I can talk about like the upcoming cosplays I'm doing on a stream, or I can even like stream something blind and find a character and be like, oh, that would be a cool costume, don't you think, guys? And like everyone's just like, oh yeah, that'd be so fun. So it's kind of like you get to see my thought process at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it sounds like it'd be a fun thing for people to watch if they are into like cosplaying or just like seeing somebody solve the problems like you've been talking about, where it's like, how do I make Pyramid Head? But also like be able to see how do I make this fan and have it not look like a big clunky, messed up thing. Like how do
Yeah,
I
like a
make it actually
ball
look
of
real? Yeah.
knives. That's the thing too about
Yeah.
Pyramid Head, like going back to it, like how am I gonna make that look like a pyramid and be able to carry it around the convention
Yeah,
without
true.
like it being like 10 pounds on my head?
Yeah, that's what I was
Oof,
wondering. Is
yeah.
like you were talking about being able to see, but also like the size that thing is supposed to
Yeah.
be, like just navigating around and then keeping it light enough that you can wear it for the whole
Yeah,
day or
just
weekend or whatever.
And I
some
would be
neck
holding
workout.
like a long knife at the same time, so it's like I'm holding
Hmm.
like two really big items.
Yeah, for
We'll see
sure.
how that goes though. I'll keep you
Hmm.
guys posted when
Oh
I
yeah.
eventually do that.
Yeah. Um, so a little bit of cosplay, a little bit of streaming, and then you said you recently started a podcast too. So how'd you get into that?
Yeah, so the podcast started when, and this is so funny how we like started it, is me and Falyn, Phil's sister. We
Hmm.
had made jokes that we were gonna make a competitive podcast against the Wait For It podcast. And we would constantly be like, oh, we're gonna be the like Go For It podcast, or like just like something where it's literally the same thing that they do, and we would like steal their intro. And
Yeah.
it became such a bit that we were like, actually, like let's start a podcast, but like do something that we really like to do. Because we had joined in on some of their episodes for What Did I Miss? And we would talk
Hmm.
about like pop culture that we were interested in alongside Eric and Phil's like pieces of news that happened in the month. And me and Flynn had a lot of like the similar interests that we were like, oh, this would be cool to talk about it on a podcast and kind of compare these like books and horror movies that we really like,
Hmm.
and really analyze the things, because we talk about it all the time anyway. We'll go on Discord after a show or a movie and like really pick it apart. So why not
Hmm.
share those thoughts with the world or anyone who wants to listen?
Yeah. Awesome.
That sounds right up your alley, Dylan. Don't you like
Yeah.
the more horror themed podcasts?
I do. I do listen to a lot of horror anthology podcasts. Yes. So
You need to recommend me some, because I really need like a lot of horror podcasts. I'm getting into like some true crime podcasts, but like you
Mhm.
can only listen to the same like true crime that happens
Yeah.
once in a
Yeah.
while. I do get
They all
interested by
do.
true crime that's like in my city.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, I've been listening to like Old Gods of Appalachia and the Magnus Archives and all of those kind of like the Lovecraft investigations, like those. So I think those have been like those are kind of the horror side that I tend to gravitate
Mm,
towards, because like you said, the true crime is interesting, but like they have a tendency to cover the same big ones, all of them, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
well, I've heard this one. So
Have you heard of like Jordan Peele's podcast? I know it was like a limited series.
I have
Um,
heard of it.
I can't remember what it's called, but I remember having listened to it like on a road trip,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like storytelling horror. So it's like his written work, and there's like
Yeah.
voice actors in it, that are like narrating this scenario to you. It's pretty
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I'll have to check that. I think I subscribed to it and then just never like sat down and listened to it, and then like you said, it was limited, so it stopped getting like bumped up my list of podcasts and been like, hey, there's a new episode, because
Oh
it
yeah,
it's
because
kind of
there's
like
not a
done.
new episode. It's just
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. So yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Well, speaking to all of these creative endeavors that you have taken on and found yourself in recently, what has surprised you the most about, I mean, if you want to kind of take them individually, like we can start with cosplaying, but like about getting into these different creative outlets?
Hmm.
That's a really good question. I think what surprises me the most is the community that you build with these types of um, hobbies, especially with like cosplaying and gaming. They kind of become intertwined. You meet people who cosplay like gaming characters. I like to do video game characters. So you kind of build like a group of people who like the same things as you. And growing up, when I had like first started learning about cosplaying and wanting to get into Comic Con, um, and just back in the day in general, like being into these things was weird as a kid. Like, I don't know if
Hmm.
you remember like having like hobbies with video games, liking anime, like no one was ever into it. So you kind of just like hid that away. Um, which is like what I did most of my life.
Hmm.
But I think like once you go into a convention and you like start actually like feeling like welcome, being yourself, you kind of like find your own identity within this community too, because you start to like open up your shell. And I think that was like the most surprising is I thought I was pretty outgoing already, but this definitely helped me build my confidence a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you brought up that like very important point of just like not being isolated, like finding those other people that are just as into the things that you like as you are, if not even more sometimes, you know. And when you are growing up, there are way less of those people around you versus like, well, even back in the day before like Marvel was a $1 billion franchise and
Oh
all of
yeah.
these things, like it has become a lot more chill to be kind of nerdy uh in this day and age than it was back in the day, but also like just being more isolated around things and being able to come into like a convention or something where it's like that is the whole point of the convention being there is all these people love this stuff,
Yeah.
it's a very cool feeling.
It's really cool, like when I get to go to some of these smaller conventions, and I don't even know if you guys have like ever heard, but like schools, like middle schools and like high schools, like host little like anime conventions now, or like even video game competitions. I'm like, why did this not exist when I was a child? Like that's not fair.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
like even those are like pretty cool because you get to see like how these students are like really learning about even like the history of video games or like getting more into anime than you probably have ever gone into anime. Like you just watch it and then they're like reading the mangas, really analyzing the things that you don't really like seem to think about.
Hmm.
What I think is interesting to think about that whole idea, the fact that, nerdiness has become mainstream now, and it was kind of like we were all sort of secret nerds growing up. We had like maybe our one or two nerdy friends that we hung out with that we like actually openly were that side of us, but it's like the reason that it's all so popular now is because we grew up and are like making it.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Hmm.
True.
how many of us were just closeted nerds that weren't talking about it back then? That if we would have just
Yeah.
started talking about, because apparently a bunch of us grew up and started making it mainstream. So like,
Mm.
it's something I never thought about until you're just talking about it right now. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it like me like social media definitely pushes it too because like we grew up around
that's
not
true.
having to go on like Instagram. Like I didn't know that these conventions were going on. Like
Hmm.
even YouTube barely really shows me anything unless I'm subscribed to it and I don't really search it on my own sometimes. Like you're too
Hmm.
young to really like know what you're looking for, but now
Yeah.
it's all over. The algorithm is like, finding you. Like whoever's listening to you on your phone, they know what you like, so they're showing you the things that you like, which is
Hmm.
something we never experienced
That's
at a young
true.
age.
The world
For
has
sure.
gotten smaller as we've grown up. We're that weird transition generation of the internet and social media.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was like cosplaying, going to conventions. Would you say that it's been the same for like streaming community's been kind of like the most surprising aspect as well, or has there been something else that surprised you about streaming?
Streaming, I feel like because I'm still so new to it, I haven't been exposed to a lot of things yet. There's a lot of like different streamers I'm learning about, friends that were making that do Twitch streams, and they're very open to teaching you how to do things on Twitch. Like if you're doing something wrong or if you need advice on something, people will like open up and tell you how to use OBS. I mean, OBS on its own is like a very confusing platform. And then Twitch, just like adding that, all the stream elements, all these different little apps that you have to connect to make yours be that professional stream that you see. It's like I think that's still a learning process for me. So definitely surprising in the sense that it is a lot harder than you would think. Because before, like when you think of live streaming, you just turn your camera on, you go live. That's about it.
I mean, you can do it that way, but like if you want to,
You
if you want to
could.
look professional, like you said, if you want it to have some sort of identity and look good and sound good, like yeah, you do have to put in the work. And then one thing breaks and your audio is like jacked up, and you're like, I don't know where in the line of stuff that I have like stitched together that problem is occurring. So now I got to kind of go back through everything again and troubleshoot it. Yeah.
That's the thing is like my computer for streaming. It's a very good computer, but it doesn't have any USB connections. It only has two. But every piece of equipment you use is a USB or a USB-C. So I have all these extensions coming out, and then I'll have someone in the chat be like, "Hey, we can't hear you," and I'm like, "Where's my mic connected? I don't know like how to fix that right now." And I'm like messing with things, my camera's turning off, my computer just moves to the side, and everyone's like, "We can't see you." And I'm like, "No." It's like a whole panic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
go ahead, Dylan.
I was just gonna say, I think it's a lot more complicated than people give it credit for. Like, I think a lot of people who haven't tried streaming or haven't tried like recording themselves don't realize how much time and effort it takes to get the setup that you're talking about, Jordan, where it is just kind of like, nope, this is, multi-step, like this isn't just I flipped the camera on and I'm here. It's like it took time and effort. And I think a lot more people would appreciate how much like streamers do to just get to the point where they are streaming, if they realized how complicated it was to even get to that point. I think they think it's just turn on your camera and you're good, and
Oh
it
yeah.
is anything but that.
I
Maybe.
honestly will say, like, I have to get into like in my mode before I stream too, because when you play video games, and I don't know if it's like just common, you don't talk normally if you're playing like a solo
No.
game. So like I have to remember that I have like viewers that are watching me, so I have to like actually speak. But if there's something happening in a game and I like lock in, I'm like staring at it and I realize I don't say anything for 5 minutes, and then it just is like awkward silence, and I have to like remember like what am I supposed to talk about? Talk about what's on the screen or talk about something else. So you also got to like prepare yourself mentally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. Is like theoretically, hopefully, best case scenario, you get all the tricky technical stuff set up, and then it is just flip a switch and go live from that point forward. But then, like you said, everything after that, you're still kind of performing to a certain extent. Like you said, that you don't play games normally like that. Like if you're playing with a group of friends, you're just goofing off. If you're playing by yourself, like for me, I'm like melting into my couch and just like, ruining my posture and definitely not talking. And so yeah, if you're like in front of a camera, like you gotta be there looking at it, addressing chat, talking to people, even if nobody's talking. Like, so if somebody joins, they're like, oh, this seems like a cool stream to hang out in, like you have to mentally be keeping up with all that stuff. And so that part I think that was probably the part that was the most taxing on us when we did it for like a year or so. It was just like, this part's tiring.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The posture thing too is like still something I'm working on, because if I'm playing a game, and I play a lot of cozy games where
Mhm.
you kind of relax, you sit back, you melt into a seat. That's basically what I'll do. Like I'll find myself like postured correctly on screen, and then I slowly am like going back, or like if something's
Mhm.
happening, I like move myself forward, and people are like, "You're really close to my camera right now." Like, sorry, something's happening right now, and I have to pay attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so would you say that's been maybe the most difficult part of streaming, or is there something else that you would say has been maybe a difficult part of the streaming side of things?
Besides technical difficulties that are always difficult, I would
Mhm.
say, yeah, just being
Mhm.
like confident on camera and really getting in your zone when it comes to streaming is it's difficult. Like you got to give yourself some time and grace when you start off for sure.
Yeah. What would you say the most difficult parts of like cosplaying or getting this podcast going have been?
Definitely getting the podcast going. Is just starting off fresh because we haven't really done something like this before. We're still so new to recording, figuring out what we want to do with the episodes, the kind of cadence. And I feel like that's normal. Like we hear it from podcasters all the time, like, oh, our first episodes do not sound like what our current episodes look like.
Hmm.
And we have this expectation, like, oh, we know so many podcasters, like, we got to get it perfect. We got to get it perfect, but there's just going to be issues that come
Yeah.
along with it. Like you're going to have something happen with the audio, someone's camera's going to accidentally turn off if you're trying to do video, and
Yep.
you're going to feel awkward at first, and we're just still getting into it. But we had our first episode released a couple weeks ago, I would say,
Hmm.
and it was great. Like listening to the results were awesome, but like when we were recording it, there was times where we would pause and be like, what is the next thing we're going to talk
Yeah.
about? Like, we're done. Like, it's been 10 minutes. We've talked about everything we want to talk about. How do we fit everything into like a 45-minute episode like we want it to?
Hmm.
Yeah, I was curious about your perspective coming from, you know, the kind of community side, hanging out, like you said, knowing a lot of podcasters, and then, starting streaming, kind of doing that. Like you stream with Phil, but then you stream on your own. So you've kind of dealt with that technical side. And like we talked about the kind of performance, and then taking all that and then shifting into podcasting, because most people that like I know in this niche and kind of in this community, and ourselves included, start with podcasts first because on paper it's the easiest. You don't have to show your face, it's just your voice. You're just having a conversation. You don't have to script anything, whatever you like. And so then they start with the podcast, and from there start branching out into, okay, well, what if we did like some streaming, or what if we did like these other things? And so you kind of having that flipped, I was curious to get your perspective on that.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. I think what helps is like the podcast isn't very similar to the things that I do on my personal
Right.
content. So that was just like a branch of things that I really like to do. Definitely understand though, like that's weird to start off being like a cosplayer and like being out in public first before being like on
Hmm.
audio and on camera. But I think it's because we had made friends in that community that really encouraged me to do something I like to do, that
Hmm.
like really pushed me to cosplay first, because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I wasn't like a Twitch streamer. I didn't really follow a lot of Twitch streamers. It wasn't until I met that community and I was like, I really like what they do, and I also want to do something similar. Like, let me learn from them.
Hmm.
So I guess that's how I worked backwards, really, is
Yeah.
finding people who went the right way, and then I followed them back.
Well, like you said, it's got to be intimidating because it's like, oh, okay, here, Eric and Phil, who have put out hundreds of episodes at this point and have it
Hmm.
down to like a science and all of that. And it's like, ooh, yeah, I feel like a lot of us started podcasts and we're just kind of like, yeah, how hard could it be? And, just started recording stuff. And like you said, the beginnings don't sound great, but also didn't really have anything to compare it to because we were just starting versus like you guys where it's like, nope, we know a lot of podcasters and we want our stuff to sound like their stuff, you know?
Oh
So,
yeah. And the thing about like try to transition it back to cosplaying, but I had
mhm.
like a very similar experience with cosplaying is that when I started off, I didn't have anyone to compare it to besides those Comic Con and like LA
Yeah.
Comic Con big conventions. And I of course was never going to make a cosplay that looked that great first time
Hmm.
around. But you kind of learn a lot about what you want to dress as, what kind of characters you're really like trying to make your brand, I guess. And something I've learned a lot too is like how people view cosplaying. You can do it very differently. Like people gender bend some cosplays and will make like female, male versions of different characters that they really like. People will get really creative and combine like two characters or like do a play on words, and it's all fun and games. But there's some cosplays where people who are a fan of that series that you're cosplaying as or that character, they will really like analyze your costume and make sure it's like as accurate as possible. So there's
Hmm.
just so many different things you run into, and I've run into all of them really, where people will come to me and be like, "Oh, are you this character? You should be wearing these kinds of pants and having this kind of wig." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I never knew that was gonna happen to me before.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a much more like in person, like in your face thing too, you know? Like if someone doesn't like your podcast, the worst they can do is leave you a negative like iTunes review, which people don't even bother leaving positive ones. So they're not going to get on there to leave a negative one, you know?
Yeah, it gets
Versus
like
someone.
yeah, like people saying things to you, like to your
Mhm.
face, like it's so bold. I didn't
Yeah.
realize people would be that way, but like, and it helps. I mean, having that criticism, I started off as an artist, so
Mhm.
I always grew up having that criticism of, okay, I want my logo to look like this, or this look doesn't look right. And now I'm kind of transferring it into something I like to do, like a hobby of
Mhm.
cosplaying. So when people give me that feedback, I'm like, okay, like I appreciate it, or I will take it and fix a cosplay and make it better. But
Mhm.
again, we started off not knowing who to compare to besides those top ones. So
Yeah,
I do want to redo those first cosplays again and make them even more
mhm,
extravagant.
for sure.
So we talked about what has surprised you and what's been difficult. What has been your favorite or the most rewarding part about all of this? You talked about the community. That's definitely a big one. Are there other things that you've come across as you've been cosplaying or streaming? Or, I mean, I know you just launched your podcast, but what would you, when you think of rewarding, like what comes to your mind?
I think one of the most rewarding things, specifically with even the podcast and having just launched, is find like when people do find out about the podcast that you've never met, or they kind of run into you through like their connections, they find you however they find you on social media, and they listen to your content, they look at the things that you create, and they like really actually enjoy it and feel some support, like they support what you do. I think that just feels really good because then I realize I'm making something that people like. I'm not just making something for myself to look at and for me to enjoy. And of course, I like looking at it. I like listening to our podcast and I do enjoy it. But I want to have like people who listen and support me as well. And it just feels really good to make something that is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of getting that like recognition for the work that you've put in and the thing that you enjoy. And yeah, I think that makes
Hmm.
sense.
That sums
It's
it
the
up really well.
small wins too, like the
Mhm.
small ones where people just be like, "Hey, I found out that there's this podcast, like we saw you post in the Discord of the Wait for It podcast," or a friend of mine like mentioned that you do horror and I really like horror. It's like those small things that I'm like, oh, I really appreciate that you actually like went out of your way to give us a follow and give us a listen, because
Yeah.
I'm not holding you at gunpoint to listen to
Mhm.
me. So that's all I ask.
Yeah. So, what would you tell somebody that wants to get into like the things that you've been doing, like get into cosplaying, get into graphic design, get into streaming, or get into, doing a podcast, or, any or all of those things. Or another way that we sometimes ask this question is, what would you tell you starting out, like that now, how would you kind of give yourself advice?
Yeah, I would say honestly, go for it. I know that's such a cliche, but really like be yourself and do something that you love. Obviously, there's a lot of research behind it, but don't hesitate starting something that you've always wanted to do, because it will grow into a big world of content creation or whatever else you're interested in doing. You'll find things that you really like to do or want to do.
Mhm.
You're constantly growing. Like I feel like you're never going to stop growing. So just go for it.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now it is time for us to shift into the gaming portion of this episode. We're going to talk about you as a gamer and let our audience get to know you as far as your gaming goes. So we'll start out easy here. What have you been playing lately?
Um, what have I not been playing? I feel like I've started so many games because this year is just the year of video games. Like everything that's
Mm-hmm.
coming out, I'm like, oh, I want to play that. But I have so many games I still need to finish. So I'm playing Split Fiction with Phil right now, which has been it's honestly like our game of the year contender. We used to play It Takes Two when it came out back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just amazing. Like we never knew like how co-op games would look when until you've played like an It Takes Two game or like a Split Fiction. But besides that, I've been getting more into PC gaming because I have the new PC. So I started playing Spiritfarer. I don't know if you've heard of Spiritfarer, but it's on
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Xbox Game Pass. It's like a very like heartwarming game. So I do like those cozy type of games, and it's like one of those I can just relax and do after work. I'm playing Schedule One, which just came out, so another relaxing game of, cooking up drugs, I guess, is like a
Mm-hmm.
good way to make it cozy.
Yep.
Um, and then on PlayStation, I am playing Monster Hunter, the new Monster Hunter. So I've been getting into that, but again,
Yeah.
have been pausing and just jumping from video game to video game. I need to finish all of
Mm-hmm.
them.
With some
Yep.
rivals dabbled in between all of those.
Yeah, I know. I played Rivals with a full squad that included Andrew. We had 6 people, and now it's what, barely 3.
Yeah, we can
Mm-hmm.
cobble together 3 or 4. We're supposed to play tomorrow. We'll see.
We'll
Mm-hmm.
see. Crossing my fingers because I do. We got to play the new season.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the
I
thing.
mean, I'm going to play either way, but if
Oh
whether we
yeah.
play together or not, the
Mm-hmm.
the group is falling away.
It's about the group now. It's like who's gonna get on and play because
Mm-hmm.
it is funner to play these multiplayer games with other people. Because if you're by yourself and you start losing, you're like just yelling at silent air
Yeah, you
in your
can't just
screen.
blame Phil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't just be like, Eric, what are you doing? Just report
Yeah.
Eric each time.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I feel that too. I think, there seem to be sort of two categories of gamer. There are the people that like sit down and play a single game all the way through, or just play like 1 or 2 games over and over. Or there's like the ADHD gamers that have like 5 or 6 different games going at one time. And
Oh yeah. I
and
used
I
to be a gamer that would just play straight through
Me
too.
too.
Like I don't know what happened this year. I'm just bouncing
Mhm.
between each one. And I think it's
Yeah.
because you have like a gaming PC, like games are just accessible at every corner of your desk or your game room.
True.
So maybe that's why, but when I was gaming in the past, I would just pick it up and finish it within that month that I got it.
Hmm.
For me, it's
Yeah.
kids. I ran out of the time that I used to be able to complete all these games. And so now I'm like, new games are coming out faster than I can finish the ones I'm playing. And I'm like, oh, I want to try that. Like I've been playing Assassin's Creed, which obviously is a longer game, but then like South of
Mm-hmm.
Midnight just came out. I'm like, oh, I want to try that, but I haven't started it yet. I'm like, nope, just wait. It'll be there when you're
Mhm.
ready for it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can't pick up Assassin's Creed right now too because if I pick it up, I'm not going to finish any other game because I love the Assassin's Creed series, and it's a long game. Like I've been watching Phil play it because he's been sharing his screen when we hop in our PlayStation party, and we've watched him do it for days, and I don't know how far he's in. He's not even that far. Like I can't imagine playing it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So how like when did you get into gaming? How long have you been into like playing video games? What's your first sort of like gaming memory, if you can think about it?
Well, I did start gaming at a very young age. I will be completely honest, to a point where I really don't know how old I
Mhm.
was. My dad was really into Nintendo and like collecting all these different types of video game consoles that have come out even before the days of me being born.
Mhm.
And I had remembered, well, I was very young, like we were playing on like the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo like Duck Hunt with the gun where you like shoot the
Yeah.
ducks,
Yeah.
Mario, those classic games.
Mhm.
And my dad noticed that I liked just being in front of the screen and playing sometimes. So he eventually like took me shopping, and we had bought like a Nintendo 64 the year that it came out. And
Mhm.
that became like my favorite thing in the world because I've only seen 8-bit games and these like little
Mhm.
platformer games, like scroll-based games. And then you play Nintendo 64 where you're playing these like 3D characters going on these adventures, and I just did not know how to put the controller down when I
Mhm.
first picked that up.
Yeah.
And the one of the games that I played first, which is so funny because I literally think I was 6 or 7 years old when my dad got it for me, was Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which is the
Oh.
second
Yeah.
of Ocarina of Time, and it's a scary game as a
Yeah.
child, but
Yeah.
I loved it because it was just so cool.
And now you have
And
a horror
he
podcast.
I know, now I have a horror podcast. Now I'm just like really into scary
Come
things.
full
I had to
circle.
be like, I had to be like transitioned into scary stuff through
Mhm.
a Legend of Zelda game. But yeah, that was like one of my first games I played through by myself.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if I played it right when I was
Yeah.
doing
I was
it
gonna
back
say
then.
that game
I
is
just finished
tough.
it.
With the
Mhm.
like time travel mechanic and stuff. I never beat that game as a kid.
Mhm.
It was too tough for me with all the like because you have the 3 days and you have to like manipulate them and repeat them and stuff. And yeah, it's one
Hmm.
I mean to go back to at some point and try to finish it, but I know I never did as a kid.
Mhm.
Well, you want to know something that's so funny about like playing this game at a young age is when we first got the game, it was obviously like in the box, like coming out of like Target or Walmart or wherever we got it. And my dad really liked taking us to like yard sales and flea markets where people would like sell their collectibles and like other like Nintendo games that they're just trying to get rid of. Someone was selling the Majora's Mask like book. It was like this
Ah,
thick of a book, and it was the full walkthrough. And this is like during a time where I don't have like access to the internet really, where I
Yeah.
can look up a walkthrough. So that I think that's how I played the game was
Mhm.
start on page one, and
yep.
it literally tells you like turn left, go here, go there, and I would finish a dungeon just like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way
Mhm.
to play those games. We did that when we were kids, a
Yeah.
little bit older with the GameCube Twilight Princess. We had the like official walkthrough book, and we would do the same thing where we would just kind of go like
Mhm.
page by page, me and my sister playing through that game. I think it's a fun way to play through games that are,
Mhm.
a little bit more puzzle and kind of tricky like that, especially when
Hmm.
you're younger. So,
Mhm.
You kind of like
Mm.
spoil the game for yourself too if you like flip to the back and it'll
Yep.
show you like, oh, Ganondorf, you're gonna be fighting him, and you're like, when? When? Like, where was that supposed to come up? Like, you get like so confused, like when that was supposed
Mhm.
to show up, and you realize that's like towards the end of the game.
Mhm.
like, there's no
Yeah.
way I'm going to be able to beat him. It's just going to be impossible.
That looks
Mhm.
so hard.
Yeah, exactly. Look how many hearts Link
Yeah.
has in this picture.
Oh yeah, those pictures with the hearts. I think like there was a moment where we were playing. It was like me and my sister. We were just sitting in front of the TV playing Ocarina of Time specifically, and we were in this like crazy dungeon. I cannot remember what it is. I think it was the Water Temple where it was like ice, and the photo that we had in the booklet had Link with like 2 lines of hearts. We only had like 7 hearts at the time,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Where'd they get all of that? Like, how is that supposed to happen?" I like had to like flip back, see if I missed something.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, the days.
Yep. Yeah. So it sounds like Nintendo 64 holds a special place in your heart. Would you say that that's your favorite like console of all time, or do you have a preference as far as like what you play on and what your favorite is?
Well, I obviously love PlayStation and Sony, and I
Mhm.
am a big Nintendo person, so I do play Nintendo Switch. But I think of all time, yeah, I would agree Nintendo 64, just because for its time, it was so advanced with
Mhm.
like the graphics, all the different things that you would experience. Like, I think the save function for a Nintendo 64 was so easy, by the way. I don't understand how it's not like that now. But when you would
Mhm.
save a game in Donkey Kong 64, I don't know if you've ever played it, you just hit A on like a banana and it just says okay and you're done. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
load. Like every time you hit okay, it just is like okay, you're saved. But now I have
Mhm.
to wait like a whole screen to save or wait till I get to a checkpoint and I'm like, what happened to those days of like those fast saves where I could just open up my menu and go?
Yeah, especially on PlayStation where it like opens up the PlayStation like window for saves for some reason. It's like you hit the save menu in the game, and then like the PlayStation window opens up and is like create save, and it's like sure, yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing here. It's like an
Yeah,
extra
it's like
Yeah.
I
step.
guess I'll select a file to save in. I thought I did.
Yet
Mhm.
Nintendo is so ahead of their time with that console that like we still only have 2 places where we can hold controllers these days.
Mhm.
Nobody has ever done 3 again.
Yeah. And I think the reason why is because like when I played 64, I don't think you ever use all 3. Sometimes like you would just use the 2 or
Yeah, the
you would
one on like
just
the
use the ones on
left,
the
I think was
side.
like rarely used if I remember because it was like middle joystick, right buttons. So the left one had the like C buttons, right? The like yellow ones.
Yeah.
So I think
Hmm.
maybe specific games you would use that for, but most of the time it was just kind of hanging off by itself alone over there.
Yeah.
I think I've made that complaint as a kid too. I remember like making that comment when we were playing one of these games where it was just the analog stick in the middle and then the side buttons. And my sister is like, "You don't touch those." And I'm like, "Why am I not touching them? Like, what are they there for? I
Yeah.
don't
Mhm.
understand."
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
it was a very interesting design, but
Mhm.
it's iconic now.
Hmm.
So N64 games definitely hold a big place in your heart, very nostalgic for that era. I'm curious if your answer to this question will be an N64 game. What would you say your favorite game of all time is?
Gosh. I don't know if it would be an N64
You can do
game,
like a
you
top
know?
3 if you need to, if you need some wiggle
I was
room.
gonna say I might do a
Most people
top
do.
Yeah,
3.
most
Yeah.
people do.
I, I feel like if you were to ask me this like a couple of years ago, it would have still been an N64 game because people would ask me and I like immediately would say Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is
Mhm.
like the best game, like my favorite game ever, and I would go back to it in a heartbeat. Even when it came out in DS or like 3DS,
Mhm.
I would play it again. But I think one of my like favorite games of all time now, it's a Legend of Zelda game, but it's Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
Okay.
Um,
that's a
on
great game.
Switch. It's beautiful. And I think what I love about it is that it did give me like that nostalgic feeling of playing Ocarina of Time without really copying Ocarina of Time exactly. Because there was parts that would call out to like old games and I love like when Legend of Zelda would do that where they would just bring things back that I'm like I remember that person from last game or I remember them talking about this before. But the story overall was just like really beautiful. Like I think I cried towards the end, like not to drop a spoiler, but I like cried when there was like flowers blooming around this tier and I was like, "Oh, I've never cried playing a video game. This is the best thing in the
I
world."
was gonna say
Mhm.
I love the Zelda arc in that game. It's
Mhm.
probably my favorite. I think that I think that game it so many people talk about it for the like puzzle mechanics and the like abilities and building stuff, but I think especially taking into consideration it was a sequel following up Breath of the Wild, which did so much that was unique for its time. I think they still were able to tell a really unique and special story around Zelda and Link and have it feel fresh and have it feel distinct from Breath of the Wild. And yeah, I don't remember if I cried, but definitely the ending of that game like hit so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. No, I cried on that ending too, but I cried in like two separate areas of the story because it's just really well written. I feel like, I mean, Zelda is obviously the main point of the story. It's Legend of Zelda, but I feel like this game specifically like really drew to like her like as a princess and like her story and everything, and Link was there to push it along, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, and in Breath of the Wild, they did a similar thing where like the story is told like fragmented. You're like getting pieces of the story out of order through the memories and stuff. And they did that again in Tears of the Kingdom. And I know some people complained about that. They're like, oh, it would have been better if, we had experienced it in its linear fashion like it was supposed to be told. But like for me, and maybe I just got lucky with how it was told, I felt like even though I was getting the pieces all out of order, by the time it all came together at the end, it still hit just as hard and it was still super impactful. The only thing that I did for myself that maybe I wish I hadn't, but it still didn't really affect how I felt about the story, was like I discovered the Master Sword on my own before like the story kind of guided me there. And so like I was able to kind of get that maybe ahead of time a little bit, but it's still for me like the whole thing, even the way that they structured the story, by the end, it was just like, yeah, this is one of my favorite Legend of Zelda stories that we've gotten, and one of my favorite like depictions of Zelda in all of the Zelda games. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. It was a great game. It got robbed at the Game Awards.
Yeah. I will say I liked Baldur's Gate though, so that's like where I was a little stuck on that.
No, I definitely understand.
Because I loved it.
Also a great game.
For sure. Any other games you want to give a shout out? Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah, actually, to answer that, Baldur's Gate was actually going to be like my second Baldur's Gate 3. And I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but it's something I've always wanted to get into, and I think this was a good way to introduce that to me. Even though a lot of Dungeons and Dragons players, I think, have mentioned that this is not like the best depiction of a Dungeons and Dragons game, which I mean, I understand. This is like on a screen. I get it's very different, but I think it was still a good little transition. And it was it had like really good story, really great graphics too. But other than that, another one of my favorite games, and I mentioned it, Assassin's Creed. I love the Assassin's Creed franchise, but there's very few out of the franchise that like sit on my favorites. And it's really strange. I've never heard anyone else tell me that they really like this one, but I like Assassin's Creed Origins, which is the one set in Egypt.
You're in good company right now. And it turns out you might have the best taste in games out of all of the wait for it people that I've ever spoken to.
Literally, I bring it up all the time. Like, I'm like, yeah, I love Assassin's Creed. I love Origins. Like, no one ever says anything. And I'm like, I'm alone.
No, it is one of the best in the series. It's my favorite for sure of the RPG games that they've done in that style. It's the best of those, even playing Shadows currently. And it's up there. Like, it's really hard to compete with Black Flag and like Brotherhood, especially if you played those when they came out. But like Origins was a fantastic game and a fantastic Assassin's Creed game. Like it did both so well, and they haven't been able to recapture that since.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like there are people I've met that have played Assassin's Creed, and a lot of people will tell me like Valhalla was one of the better ones, and I don't agree with that. I liked the game, but I just didn't think it was. I didn't feel very Assassin's Creed when I played it. And I don't know if you've played the other games. Like I can't remember which one it was, but it was like set in London. I think it was Syndicate.
I've
that one was a weird
all,
one too.
so yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
I liked the game, but again, it felt really weird. And like at one point, I don't know if it was part of the game or if it was a DLC, but there was like a Jack the Ripper
Yeah, it was a DLC.
thing, and you like yeah, and you go into like the asylum and stuff,
Yeah.
and there's all these like different missions, and I'm like, what game am I playing right now? I'm like, what is this?
Syndicate had really
Yeah.
good like combat, and it had a really fun gameplay loop of like taking the districts back and everything. Like I liked the gameplay and I liked both the characters, but if you ask me anything about the story in that game, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea
That
because it wasn't
yeah,
good
no, I
and it wasn't
agree.
memorable.
I can tell you what they looked like and where we were, the two different groups and districts that I was working with, and that's it. Do I remember anything about those districts and why we were doing anything with them? Absolutely not.
And they had that really cool like World War One kind of side segment where you went and like played as Evie's granddaughter or something, where you would like you'd go through like an animus fracture or something, and then you were playing these kind of pretty linear sections. I think one of them was more open in like World War One, and I was like, this is cool. Like I would love to see a more semi modern take on like the assassin stuff, but they haven't done that yet. But like the game did some cool things, but I agree, it's like as an Assassin's Creed game, they didn't really do anything memorable.
Yeah, and I think that's just the thing that they've been running into a lot because there's so many Assassin's Creed games in general. Like they're trying to do stuff that's different. And I think they're listening to the feedback and they're like, okay, now we can switch it up again. But no, it was a good time. Have you guys played the multiplayer for Assassin's Creed, by the way? Like for Brotherhood, Black Flag, those?
Yeah,
Okay.
they did it
Yeah, I
for
played Black Flags.
3 and Black Flag, and I think yeah, Brotherhood and Revelations. They also did a multiplayer for Unity where you were like working together with
Oh
other
yeah,
people
like a
to like
co-op
to
one.
take out targets, whereas like the one you're talking about was like PvP. I really liked the one in Unity. I'd love to see something like that come back, but I didn't the one in like Black Flag and back in that era was not my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I was about to ask you what you thought of it. It was actually one of my favorites, but I guess it's because I'm like a PvP person. I get pretty competitive.
But
And I'm
I
like,
like
yeah, kill.
I like those. They almost feel like a proto, like Among Us, or like some of those like games that we're getting now, where it was kind
hmm
of almost like that social deduction, like streamer game almost, you know. So I did enjoy. The only one I played was Black Flag, but I did play that multiplayer a bunch, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I wanted to bring attention to it because I was like, I I mentioned it to people so many times, and again,
Mhm.
it's one of those that like no one knows about.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
have you played all of the Assassin's Creed games?
I would like to say I have. I haven't played the platformer ones. Like, do you know the ones I'm
Yeah, like
talking
China
about?
and India and
Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't played those, but I've played a good majority of the Assassin's Creed games, not Mirage and not Shadows. So
Okay.
those are the two that I need to keep up with.
Okay.
yeah.
We were kicking around doing some sort of like retrospective style like Assassin's Creed episode in the future. So maybe I just found our guest for that one. We'll be in
There
touch.
you
I'd
go.
be happy to. Let me know.
Yeah,
I'll play the other games so I can catch up.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss much with Mirage. You can just go watch my
safely
video
skip.
about it and you'll
I
get a
haven't
good
heard
idea.
anything about Mirage, I'll be honest, so I don't doubt that I missed anything.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Assassin's Creed games are big favorites of yours. The Legend of Zelda games, big favorites. Baldur's Gate. So I think all of us have things that draw us to particular games, right? Something that about that game makes it like a Jordan game or a Dylan game or an Andrew game. So what are some of those things that you look for in a game to kind of tip yourself off of like this is a game I'm going to enjoy. This is a Jordan game.
Oh, story-based games for sure. Like I
Hmm.
really enjoy a game that has and I mean most games definitely have stories, of course, but Fallout was another game that I like to play as well, and really immersing yourself as that main character and like you need to go find your dad, you need to go save the princess, you need to go to Baldur's Gate, whatever that
Yeah.
whole plot was. It's just like a cool story to be a part of, and I guess that like, kind of draws me back as like being a reader. Like I love immersing myself in a book and immersing myself in a story. So story-based games, like those types of fantasy type of games, 100% is a Jordan game.
Yeah. Awesome.
Nice. Yeah. So, looking to the future, do you have a game that is on the horizon that you're really looking forward to? Like, what would you say is your most anticipated game right now?
Oh gosh. You know, I don't know if I'm looking forward to anything. Because I've been bouncing around on games so
Yeah, we have
far.
so many to play already. It's easy
Yeah,
to
like
like
there's
not
so
want to look
many.
forward.
And it, like then I go back to Rivals or like playing Fortnite and I'm like, here I am back at home. And I just ignore the rest of it. But there is a game on Steam that I'm really excited about. It's very like Stardew Valley Animal Crossing like, but it's Lord of the Rings themed. And I'm a really big Lord of the Rings fan. So I can't remember. I think it's called Tales of the Shire. It's been pushing back its announcement date like every year. Like it'll be like coming out in 2024, now 2025, and now it's coming out in May, so they say.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of those that I'm really excited about because I wanted to stream it so bad because it's Lord of the Rings themed and I'm a hobbit and I just really wanted to be a hobbit.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely looks like they've got like that cozy game aesthetic down for, I mean, just walking around the Shire is like the ultimate cozy game, you know?
Oh yeah.
So,
The Shire is like a place I definitely want to visit
mhm.
because it's in New Zealand. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fun fact, it is in New Zealand. And I definitely
Mhm.
want to go to the Shire there and you can walk the trails of Mordor. So I
Mhm.
have made that, I've expressed that that is on my bucket list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would also like to do that. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and roll into our closing game for this episode. So, with that, let's roll into our closing segment for this episode.
Okay.
All right. So, we're going to play a little game called Go On Name Them.
I'm
So,
terrible at this game.
Like right when I heard name, I was like, how many names do I know?
yeah, the idea behind this game is that I will give you a category. I will tell you how many items are within that category. So like say it's vehicles in Grand Theft Auto, for example. I'll say there are 75 vehicles in Grand Theft Auto 5 or something. And then I would say, Jordan, how many of those do you think you can list off? And you would say, well, I can name like 15. And then Dylan would say, well, I can name 16, back and forth until finally you say like, well, I could do 20. And Dylan's like, well, I can't do 21. So name them. And so then you have to name the 20 that you said you could do. If you fail, Dylan gets points. If you
All
succeed,
right.
you get points. Now, this is the part that we have been kind of workshopping every time we play this game is the point system because you want to incentivize people to actually bid and not just make the other person name them. So I like the idea of giving the person who bids the amount of points that, like, if they say they could do 10, they get 10 points if they succeed. What is the person, if they fail, what does that person get? What do we think is a good kind of...
Like 25%?
Negative.
Yeah.
Negative
Negative
20
points.
points.
Yeah, maybe like half
like
points or
half of what they said
25%
they could
points
claim?
or something.
Okay.
I would say half.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe even just like 2 points or 1 point, so that it's still like
You want
if
to name them
somebody
to try to
actually,
win. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, let's try it with the... Yeah, let's try it with the incentive to want to win. Let's say that if the person fails, you get 2 points. But if you
Okay.
get what you bid on, you get that amount of points. Sound
Okay.
fair?
Yeah.
Sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
The first category is Zelda games. There are
Okay.
21 on my list.
Ooh.
Jordan, as our guest, I'm going to kick it to you first. How many can you name?
I can name 12.
Jeez. I was like 5. Let me see if I think I can name more than 12. I'm gonna say
You're failing at the bluffing part of
13.
this game for sure.
I'm gonna say
He's
13.
like, I said 5 originally. Now I don't know. I can name. You said 13. I can name 14.
That's Go for it
Okay.
because I'm definitely not getting 15.
All right, Jordan, 14.
Okay. So, should I add like the whole like Legend of Zelda part because that's like a
No,
lot of the
you can
beginnings
just
of them.
give me the subtitle.
I was like the subs, but we'll start it off with like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Oracle of Seasons, Minish Cap. Oh gosh, I'm blanking. Skyward Sword. I can see them in my like head. Like like you like I know which ones they are, but I'm like, what are they? I named so far. That was 8.
That's always the hardest part is remembering what you've said already.
Well, I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah.
You've said Skyward Sword, Minish Cap, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Oracle of Seasons, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, and then I said Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. You said that. Okay.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, maybe I'm not a fan. Wow. I think I've stuck myself. I think I'm not a fan. There's that GameCube one. I can't read. Link to the Past. That's that one. So,
Yep, Link to the Past.
Gosh. I think that's it.
I'm trying.
There's at least
Trying to keep up. Did you say you said Oracle of Seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say the other Oracle game?
No.
Okay.
I like couldn't remember because I've played Oracle of Seasons. I've played the other one. I think I preferred Seasons, and that's probably why.
So you're up to 9 by my count?
Yeah, I think I counted 9 as well.
That's it?
there's at least one other GameCube game.
That other GameCube game, but I cannot think of what it's called.
So you
I think
tapping out?
Yeah, I'm gonna tap out. I'm throwing in the Minish Cap.
You said Minish Cap already.
Yeah, no, I'm throwing in the cap.
I get you. Okay, so
So the alternative way is we could say if they don't get it, the person gets a chance to steal if they can name one.
Name
if
one.
That seems more fair. Or name some, I don't know.
Yes, that's the weird part is like, do you just name one? Do you finish out the amount that they couldn't get? Like, what is the best? I think.
Yeah. Do we play it Family Feud rules, or do we just say nope, they didn't do it, so 2 points?
Yeah, for this round we'll do that just to stick with it. Maybe we'll workshop it and again in a future episode. So we'll give Dylan 2 points. The one you're thinking of is Wind Waker.
Yes.
Yeah, that's literally it just came to my head like right when I like threw it out. I was like Wind Waker. I think the other one, I think I confused it because it was there's one called like Link's Awakening or something like that.
Yep.
And it's
Awakening.
like so
there's
technically
the ones you didn't get. There were Four Swords Adventures, Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, Link's Awakening, Oracle of Ages, Link Between Worlds. And then Echoes of Wisdom, which just came out. Then there's The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link. Then there is Triforce Heroes. And then they have on this list, they have the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which I didn't notice earlier. I don't know if I would count that one. Neither of you guessed. Like neither of you said you could do 21 anyways, so it doesn't matter. But that was the one that
they
was
don't.
like the
They
Musho
didn't
game
have
or whatever.
Link's crossbow training.
Nope, that one's not on there. That's the other thing. If
I was gonna
you
say.
get one wrong, then you're out. So
Oh gosh, I forget about the Calamity, Hyrule Kingdom of Calamity.
yeah, there's that one, and then they did the Hyrule Warriors, which didn't make this list. So I don't know how that one squeaked in. Maybe because it's actually like tells a story that ties to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, because like that's how it was with the Calamity. It was pretty similar to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, and in your defense, all of the like 3DS and 2DS and like all those ones are so tough to keep track of. Like
They like blend together sometimes at this point.
For sure. All right. Now, one for Dylan here. Our next category is Marvel Rivals characters. We have 38.
3. I can name 3 Marvel Rivals characters.
Dylan says starting it out low with 3.
I can name 4.
There you go.
I'll say 10. I'll say 10,
my god!
just
I
to
can
like
go from
ramp
3
it
to
up.
10. Okay. Dylan says 10.
We're like doing like a gambling.
Yeah.
I can name 11.
12.
How many did you say there was? 30?
38.
Really?
Why do I not like feel like I've seen 38 faces on my screen? I can name 15.
16.
17.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Keep in mind, he hasn't really played this game.
That's the thing is like when I look at like Marvel Rivals in my head, I can only think of 18 characters. So yeah, go and name 18.
Okay. Spider-Man.
Yep.
Venom.
Yep.
Jeff the Land Shark.
Yes.
You really be blinking. Wolverine.
Yep. Wolverine is there.
Okay. Rocket Raccoon.
Yep. Rocket Raccoon is there.
All right. Sue Storm.
Invisible Woman. Yes, she is there.
Emma Frost.
I put her on the list. She's not there till
I was
tomorrow.
gonna say she's almost there.
Okay. The Mantis. The Mantis?
Just Mantis, but yes, Mantis is there.
Okay. Groot.
Groot is there.
Drax.
Drax is not there.
Damn it.
You were doing pretty well.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty well.
He's the only Guardian I think is not
Gamora's
in here, right?
not there either.
Oh, well, she's also not.
I think Gamora is going to be a pretty sick character whenever they add her. I don't know exactly how they'll do her, but so yeah, 38 characters. You have Adam Warlock, Black Panther, Black Widow, Captain America, Cloak and Dagger, one character by the way, Doctor Strange, Emma Frost, Groot, Hawkeye, Hela, Hulk, Human Torch, Invisible Woman, Iron Fist, Iron Man, Jeff the Land Shark, Loki, Luna Snow, Magic, Magneto, Mantis, Mr. Fantastic, Moon Knight, Namor, Penny Parker, Psylocke, The Punisher, The Thing, Rocket Raccoon, Scarlet Witch, Squirrel Girl, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Storm, Thor, Venom, Winter Soldier, and Wolverine. You had 3 other easy picks when you said Invisible Woman.
Yeah. I did, but I couldn't remember if they were all in the game or not.
Yeah.
So I was pretty sure Mr. Fantastic was, but I couldn't remember if Johnny Storm and
The Thing.
The Thing were.
Yeah, because they
And I
released them in
should
two
have
different
gotten
pairs.
I should have gotten the like more easy ones like the Hulk and Captain America out of the way first.
Yeah.
So
Iron Man.
yeah, just the Avengers.
So
So
that is
yeah,
I will say I did like honestly, it still doesn't even sound like 38 characters.
Yeah.
Like when you say it out loud.
yeah.
And we play it so often, I only see like the same 12 characters in rotation.
right. Yeah, I've been trying to learn some new ones now that I've kind of like finished the season pass and stuff. There are some on here I've like never played. I've never really played Adam Warlock. I've never played Groot. I've never played Iron Fist. I mean, there's a few others, but like I recently played Moon Knight for a few matches to like complete some quests because when we play together, like Phil pretty much always plays him, and I'm always like, well, I'm gonna be somebody I'm good with, and so I was like, I'm actually gonna go to the like practice range, try him, take him into a match. I was like, hey, he's pretty fun. I like it. And then I sat down one weekend and was like, I'm going to learn magic because she's awesome. She bullies me whenever she's like against me, and she has like two really awesome skins. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna actually learn her. And I did, and I would say I'm an okay magic now.
There you go.
He's a good character.
Yeah. All right, so next category, smaller list. There are 8 elite animals in Assassin's Creed Origins.
You really did pick things that like I knew
Okay.
about.
Dylan's beaten this game too.
I have beaten this game.
You've named the elite animals in Origins?
No, he played Assassin's Creed Origins, I mean.
Yeah.
I was
fought-
like, you've named them?
No, I probably fought some of them.
Yeah. I mean,
Most of them are ones that I'm pretty sure they made an elite version of this animal.
right,
in my
yeah.
head.
It's probably like just an elite version of the categories of animals in the game, but even that is like,
What were they?
yeah, exactly. It's been a minute since I played this game. So, Jordan, we'll let you start.
I can name one.
Nice.
I was gonna go with 5.
5. All right, Dylan coming in swinging here.
I was gonna say big gamble because like the next number I was gonna say was 4. Oh my gosh! I'm gonna give it to you, Dylan. Can you name 5?
Probably not, but I'm gonna try. I'm assuming there's a crocodile.
There is
as
a
an elite
crocodile.
animal.
Yep.
That was my one.
Yeah. That one seemed like the safe bet. Hippo.
Yep. There's a hippo.
Okay. Hyena? Was that a type of animal?
There is a hyena. Yep.
Okay. I feel like there were a lot of I don't know what they were. I think they were like big vulture things.
There were vultures. Yeah, that's one that I
Okay.
don't remember at all.
Okay.
But they were there. There is a elite vulture.
Okay.
You're at 5.
So those are the 4 that I was pretty confident in.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of hoping that I would come up with a 5th one as I was naming. It seems like it's set in like very, very North Africa. So maybe lion. I'm gonna throw lion out there. I don't remember if there were
is a
lions in the
lion.
game.
Yep. You
Okay.
did it. So that's 5
Okay.
points
Yay!
for Dylan. So the ones
I
that
would not have remembered the vulture, by the way.
Yeah, me
so
neither.
the ones you've said, besides the vulture, were my 4.
Yeah.
the other ones that you could have said were leopard,
Oh.
cobra. The snakes were a nuisance in that game, especially when you're exploring tombs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then ibex.
No, like
yeah,
a
I bet.
goat thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the other 3.
Yeah, I would not have gotten those.
Yeah,
The cobras, yeah. Now you think, like you mention it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I remember the snakes. Like anytime you break a pot or something, you're like, "Why am I taking damage?" And there's just like little snake just biting at your ankles.
Oh.
All right, good job, Dylan. The next category, games made by Bethesda, and this is Bethesda, the developer, not the publisher. So, like Bethesda Softworks, is that the developer name? So, like Bethesda as a company, like they own Arcane and id and all those. We're just talking about Bethesda, the developers. So,
Yeah.
Dylan.
So primarily like Elder Scrolls and Fallout games.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's 16 of these.
I was about to say, I was like, is it a small category?
Yeah, there's 16.
I can maybe do like 7. We'll start with 7.
Okay.
I can name 8.
I will let Jordan name 8 because I'm
Okay.
not much. I'm not too confident in some of the older games.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, the old ones, and I don't know if they've made any like more recent games too. That's
Yeah,
why I'm like, oh, I haven't touched it in a while. But
yeah. I'm pretty
starting
sure
with
Andrew
the obvious.
was not just gonna let me name Skyrim like 8 times.
Like Skyrim, another Skyrim.
Skyrim
Just keep
Anniversary
going with
Edition.
Skyrim.
I mean,
um,
who knows how this list shook out?
Is that how the?
so obviously the Elder Scrolls. Uh,
Which
were
one?
they just numbers? I mean, Elder Scrolls Skyrim,
Okay.
very obvious. Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Fallout 76.
Yep.
Trick question, it's not New Vegas, because New Vegas was Obsidian.
Exactly.
A. Starfield, I think, is the most recent
Yep. That's
Bethesda
5.
game.
Totally forgot about that game.
So
Yeah.
you said 8,
I never
right?
played it. Yeah, 8.
Okay, so 3 more.
Let me think. Fallout Shelter? That game?
Fallout,
the mobile one.
Fallout Shelter's on here. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's 6. Does it count for me to say Elder Scrolls like 4? Like the numbers, or do I have to actually say like the
I need to know,
subtitle.
the subtitle for the
yeah.
for the Elder Scrolls games, because that's what they more commonly go by.
Yeah, okay. That's it's funny, I've never played an Elder Scrolls game.
That makes sense since you like Fallout. There seems to be there seems to be camps.
I prefer Fallout over Elder Scrolls. Whoops. God. Which ones have I named?
You have named
Fallout.
Starfield, Fallout 76, Fallout 4, Fallout Shelter, Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, Fallout 3.
Did I say Fallout 2 and Fallout 1?
You haven't said those. Do you want to say those?
Yeah, I'll say those two.
Neither of those were made by Bethesda.
I
What?
knew that was gonna happen
Really?
to me.
No, Bethesda took it over at Fallout 3. That was when it went into like the full 3D first person, because the original Fallout games were not like that. They were made by some sort of I think it's a name that you might recognize. Let's see who made one. It was Black Isle Studios. And they were like one of the original kind of RPG studios back in the day. And I want to say...
Did they mainly do like the typing adventure games? Like the type adventure?
I don't...
Because I know that's what Fallout 1 and 2 was like.
Maybe so. Fallout is regarded as a spiritual successor to Wasteland, which came out in 1988, which was developed by Interplay. Black Isle Studios... Yeah. I feel like I listened to an interview with somebody that was involved in those, but now I can't remember the name. Anyways, so that's going to be a couple points for Dylan. Unfortunately, you were doing so good, Jordan.
I was so close.
So the Elder Scrolls games, well, I'll just go down the list here. So they did Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. They did...
Wait, they didn't do 2 or 1?
No.
I would have gotten those wrong too.
Yeah, no,
Man.
they took over these
Those
franchises.
were in the ones that I was counting.
I know, that's why I was like, Fallout 1 and 2. They tricked us.
They did IHRA Professional Drag Racing 2005.
Okay.
They did
Amazing.
The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. They did IHRA Drag Racing Sportsman Edition. They did Fallout 3, Fallout 3, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, Fallout Shelter, Fallout 4, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim Special Edition, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim VR, Fallout 4 VR, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Blades, which was the like mobile game, the Elder Scrolls Castles, which might have also been a mobile game, and then Starfield.
Yeah, it's the Elder Scrolls version of Fallout Shelter.
Gotcha. Cool. So, Dylan, what is the score going into our final category here?
Currently, it is 9-2. So
I'm the guest. Add some points.
We'll give you the bonus star at the end.
right.
Yay. I feel like there was more games Bethesda made, right? Than that? Or did you just not name them all?
Those, according to Wikipedia, were the only games that Bethesda, the like developers, have made. Now the publisher, they've made a ton of games. They made all the like Arcane games, Dishonored. They made the Wolfenstein games. They've made Doom, right?
Indiana Jones.
They made like Rage, I think.
Yeah,
that was like
Rage was id.
Yep.
Id was the developer. Bethesda was the publisher. So Bethesda themselves haven't made that many games. Because originally I looked at like Bethesda as a whole. I was like, that's way too many games. I'm not trying to put that in this list. So
I was about to say, when you said 16, I'm like, there's definitely more than that. So I had to think about like as a developer.
It's tricky. It's kind of like CD Projekt Red as a developer versus a publisher, except they haven't made as many games yet. But the same name thing is just confusing.
Yeah.
Counting special edition in VR, by the way, Andrew. How dare you?
Savage. I
Yeah.
know.
That was without even like a hint of it.
I gave you a hint because you were like, you're not going to count Skyrim like 7 times. I was like, well, you'd be surprised. So
Oh, I should have said it too, because when I started at Skyrim, I'm like, what if I said special edition?
you would have got it. It would have been hilarious. All right, last category. Known Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, including the Switch 2 editions of games. So, like, there are games that are getting a Switch 2 version. There's 19. So there's enough for you to come back, Jordan.
What hell? Can you repeat that prompt?
So the Switch 2 is recently announced. There are 19 games that we know of. And I'll give you this hint in case maybe you saw the same thing I saw, that Hades 2 is supposed to be a Switch 2 exclusive. That's not on this list. I didn't put Hades 2 on this list. But there are 19 games that are either brand new Switch 2 exclusive games that are coming to the platform, or they are like the Switch 2 upgraded version of games that already exist, or that are already coming to Switch 1. So like some of them aren't out yet and they're Switch games, but they're going to get a version for Switch 2 that's like enhanced. Does that make sense?
Got it. Okay. Because I thought at first I had to name all of the Switch games, and then I got like flipped over.
Yeah.
I understand now.
The Switch 2 games that we know about at this point. So I don't remember who goes first. Is it you, Dylan? Start the bidding, or is it Jordan?
Would it be me because he did it first, or?
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
Sure. And how many did you say there were? 19. So I don't like overdo myself. I can name 4.
5?
6.
7.
Oh God.
7 will tie you, Jordan.
I know, and that's why I was like, maybe if I do 8, like let me like dig into that. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I know 8. I'm gonna give it a try.
I was gonna
I
say,
feel like I
what
got
do
to,
you got to
I'm
lose?
gonna let
What do
you
I
go
have
for it.
to? What do I have to lose?
All right,
Yeah.
8 games.
Okay. So, Switch 2 exclusives. Starting with the obvious, I feel like they gotta add the Ring Fit back into Switch 2, right? That's one.
Is that
Confirmed,
actually your
right?
guess?
No, I think that's actually one of my guesses. Can I count that? Or is that a no?
You can, but there is no Ring Fit that's been announced yet.
Yet.
These are
They
games that
have to.
have
Yeah.
been announced already that we know
We may have
about.
to come back and edit the episode when Ring Fit is announced.
Yeah,
It's gonna be announced tomorrow, hopefully.
okay, I'm gonna let you keep going.
Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Mhm.
Uh, Splatoon was a big Switch game. I feel like they are recreating a Switch 2. Let me hold that episode. Let me hold that answer real quick.
Put it in the maybe pile.
In the maybe, and I'll come back to it. Super Mario Odyssey.
Nope.
No.
No Super Mario Odyssey.
Wow.
Wow. Can I say Splatoon?
You can, yes. It's also not on the list.
No!
I thought that one was getting like a update for Switch 2. Or did
No.
they just show it in the like game chat thing?
Yeah, they just showed it in that. There's no new version. Now I would have taken I was going to be more flexible with like the names of games because, we just kind of found out about these. So the Nintendo Switch exclusives that we know about are Mario Kart World. It's the one that's kicking up all the fuss about being $80 to $90. We have the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. We have Drag X Drive, which was like people in wheelchairs playing soccer or something.
It was Murder Ball. They're playing like basketball
Oh, okay.
in wheelchairs.
There's the new Hyrule Warriors game, Age of Imprisonment. There's the Dusk Bloods, the From Software exclusive, Kirby Air Riders, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Survival Kids. Then the ones that are getting new versions, we have Super Mario Party Jamboree, we have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. We have Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed World, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends ZA, Civilization 7, Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Shadow Labyrinth, and Tamagotchi Plaza.
Tamagotchi Plaza.
You gonna stream that one?
Maybe. I'm adding these to my list right now. These are all games now I have to keep up with because I didn't answer them correctly.
Yeah.
It was Tamagotchi Plaza like the same like Tamagotchi that I used to have as a child that died because I forgot to feed it with the like 3 little buttons, or no?
I think it's the same brand. I don't know what Tamagotchi Plaza is. It was just on this list.
Time for me to look up Tamagotchi Plaza. I think it is just the same brand. It seems very I almost said Assassin's Creed. It
Nice.
seems like Animal Crossing but with the
makes sense.
Tamagotchi characters.
Cool. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for humoring us and playing this game. It was a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun and it didn't scare you off from coming back on the show, because you are number one currently for Assassin's Creed retrospective episode at this point. So we definitely love to bring you on. This is the point of the show where I want you to plug all the cool stuff that you're doing, let people know where they can find you. I'm going to have you send me links to all that so we can make sure it's in the description for this episode. But for anybody who's listening, go ahead and shout it out.
Yeah, so for everything that I'm doing, you can follow me at George's Bizarre Adventure on Instagram. And if you want to keep up with my new podcast, that's the Read It and Reap podcast on Instagram. We're going to be releasing 2 episodes this month, which is going to be really exciting. So we're pushing it along. So give us a listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Awesome.
Nice. Cool. Well, like I said, thanks for coming on. It's been a lot of fun. It's good to get to know you as a gamer and as a creator. It's been a fun conversation. Definitely don't think it'll be the last time we have you on. Dylan, anything you want to say before we close this thing out?
Nope. Just thank you for being here and coming on and chatting with us. It's been fun.
Of course, thanks for having me. Thanks for testing my video game knowledge.
You're welcome. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We greatly appreciate it. That's all for this episode. We'll catch you on the next one, and stay friendly, gamers.